He made me clean up the hotel after the freak-offs, said George Kaplan. He wasn't just Diddy's assistant, he was his fixer. In this video, you'll hear exactly what Kaplan told the jury, what Homeland Security really found in Diddy's home, and how a trauma expert explained why victims stay with their abusers. This is what happened on day 9 of Diddy's trial. George Kaplan started working for Sean Diddy Combs in 2013. He was promoted within a year to become Diddy's executive assistant. From that point on, he worked 80 to 100 hours per week, every week. He wasn't just scheduling meetings or organizing travel. He was setting up hotel rooms with specific items: candles, baby oil, sex toys, liquor, and drugs, all paid for with Combs Enterprises corporate card. Kaplan said the rooms were usually reserved under the alias Frank Black, a nod to the notorious B.I.G., whose nickname was Frank White. After Diddy was done with his guests, usually women, Kaplan cleaned up. He'd find bottles of alcohol, Gatorade, and on one occasion, a brown crystallized powder on the counter. He didn't know what it was, but he cleaned it anyway. He also picked up drugs for Diddy, once in Miami, once in Los Angeles. He was given cash and a contact number and returned with MDMA or unknown substances. This was not a one-off errand. It was part of his job. Kaplan was clear. His role wasn't just logistical. He was there to protect Diddy's image, clean up the mess, keep things quiet, make sure no one saw what really went on. And it came at a cost. Diddy would regularly threaten Kaplan's job, nearly once a month. Sometimes it was motivational, Kaplan said. Other times it was aggressive. He recalled being screamed at for buying the wrong water bottle. He said he once stayed up working until 7 a.m. Another time, he had to make sure the hotel toiletries were all facing the same direction, because that's what Diddy expected. This wasn't just about service. It was about control. Special Agent Gerard Gannon from Homeland Security Investigations also returned to the stand. He was the agent in charge during the March 2024 raid on Diddy's Miami Beach mansion. What they found was staggering. Let's start with the guns. A .45 caliber handgun in a red suitcase. AR-15 rifle components, disassembled but present. Several magazines with scratched-off serial numbers. Then came the drugs: cocaine, ketamine, and MDMA. A Gucci bag containing pills, white powder, and a straw with residue. A plastic bottle of eye drops that tested positive for MDMA and ketamine. Pills stamped with the Tesla logo, testing positive for MDMA and Xanax. Mushroom capsules found inside a gold-plated puffy box. And then came the sex-related items: 25 bottles of baby oil, 31 bottles of Astroglide lubricant, sex toys, lingerie, condoms, red high-heeled shoes, 18 pairs in total, 3 cell phones stuffed into a Balenciaga boot. All of this was found in the master bedroom and adjacent closets. Gannon testified that about 80 to 90 agents were involved in the raid, which was tied to a human trafficking investigation. The mansion was so large and so heavily secured that they needed a tactical team and even a boat to access it from multiple sides. According to Gannon, this wasn't just a celebrity home. It was the center of an ongoing federal criminal investigation. Next came Dr. Dawn Hughes. She's a forensic and clinical psychologist who specializes in trauma. She previously testified in the cases against R. Kelly and Keith Raniere. She also served as an expert in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. In this case, she wasn't there to talk about Cassie Ventura specifically. She testified as a blind expert, meaning she hadn't evaluated any of the alleged victims or Diddy himself. Her job was to explain trauma. She told the jury that victims often stay in abusive relationships because of shame, fear, and dependence. They may return to their abusers hoping to see the good version of the person they once loved. Leaving isn't a one-time decision. It's a process, and it often takes many attempts. She explained the concept of a trauma bond, a powerful emotional connection between victim and abuser that can be incredibly hard to break. Because abuse isn't always constant. There are moments of kindness, love, even joy. That contrast creates confusion, attachment, and silence. Hughes said victims often numb themselves using drugs or alcohol. It's not uncommon, she said, for victims to take substances before seeing their abuser just to make it through the encounter. When it comes to memory, trauma plays tricks. Victims may forget timelines or peripheral details, but retain the core of what happened. Some memories may be fragmented, but that doesn't make them false. She also addressed delayed disclosure. Why don't victims report immediately? Because the abuse was intimate, private, shameful. Because they feared no one would believe them. Because their abuser was rich, powerful, untouchable. The closer the relationship, Hughes said, the harder it is to speak out. Diddy's legal team tried to poke holes in Hughes' credibility. Defense attorney Jonathan Bach asked whether she had testified for men accused of sex crimes. She said no. She doesn't evaluate offenders. He also asked about her compensation. She's being paid $600 an hour and $6,000 per day in court. But she denied any bias. She's worked with both prosecution and defense in other cases. He questioned whether her testimony was just common sense. She replied that these patterns, trauma bonds, delayed disclosure, emotional dependence, are well documented and clinically recognized. The prosecution followed up and confirmed she wasn't there to speak about guilt or innocence. Just patterns, just context. So what did Day 9 reveal? That Diddy's own assistant says he acted like a king and expected everyone around him to clean up the aftermath. That federal agents found enough evidence to support a serious racketeering case, and that the trauma inflicted on his alleged victims has a name, a cause, and consequences that last for years. Tomorrow, George Kaplan will return to the stand. And Kid Cudi, yes, that Kid Cudi, is expected to testify about the time Diddy allegedly blew up his car. This trial isn't slowing down. So hit subscribe, ring the bell, and don't miss what's coming next. Because it's only getting darker from here.